Hello everyone, it's Sean. I'm back again for part 2 of the 1000 scale refit, and this is the model I built in March of 2018. Well, March and April really. You can see the blue nacelles there and the metallic accents on the nacelle struts. Of course, the first few pictures show it when I was painting it at my friend's house, and then of course I took it to the cedar chest at home for beauty shots. So you can see it on the stand from the front, and then I get all the angles, the sides, the back, and everything else. Now I painted the nacelles glowing blue even on the outside, and the small, well, circular warp grills glowing red to simulate the 24th century color scheme. And of course, then I used some of my metallic folk art paints on the nacelle strut vents and other sections of the ship. And you can see the dry dock view there with the blue nacelle, the blue deflector dish. I wanted to make sure it showed up glowing nice and blue, sort of an aqua color, so I think I used aquamarine or something. And I started taking sequential pictures as it approached, kind of like you would have seen in Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. And of course, you see the whole bottom of the saucer there. Now, there's no ship name yet, but you see the windows are painted white at least. And then I took it in a bit brighter light. Must have been daylight in those pictures there. And a bit of the angles, you can see the impulse crystal lit up there in blue on that angle. And you can really see the blue going up brightly. I believe I had to give it a second coat of blue to make them show up properly. That's why I took these pictures. And then of course there it is on the kitchen table, which became my model building table. And there it is at the bottom. From the bottom, you can see the nacelle struts. I think that's either brass or antique gold or something. And of course, I painted the front of the nacelle struts too, the black inside, I think. There it is from the front again. And then I tried to take sequential pictures, kind of showing it as it turns. Also gives you a close-up view of the torpedo tube and the deflector dish. And you see the gold ring around the deflector dish? That's a specific color called antique gold for Star Trek 50 years. And of course I colored the lounge windows dark blue. Again, I was just starting out, so I didn't know exactly what I was doing yet. This is my early work, of course. That was my kitchen at the at Cold Lake. And you can see it from all sides. And the magnets on the fridge on the far left. There it is on the bottom again. Now, I don't know if there's anything different from this, except all four saucer hatches are colored dark green. Now, there's the Aztec decals. They came with the model, because this was the 2009 edition. And I started painting them with pearlescent white at the top. You can see that there. Because as I found out the hard way, see that wedge at the top? Decals in place, but you can't see it. You couldn't see it against the chrome, so I started experimenting with colors. Luckily, I had a spare set, because otherwise I wouldn't have been able to narrow it down to just the 3 soft colors, which is what I eventually ended up using, because as you see with the darker colors applied, it just doesn't look right. So I had to take that one off and apply different colors to it. But luckily I had spare sets, so that worked out just fine, and I had an A creation set. Oh, there's the registry number. Now you see how I nudged it forward so it didn't overlap the grid lines? A bit of a change from how it was in the movie. But again, I wasn't trying to make this one accurate. I was trying to just see if I could complete it and paint it all by myself, mostly. And there's the top. Now you can see the phasers are lit up. I think they're also lit up with a metallic color. There's the registry number on the top. Now, the crazy thing is, I put the registry on the ship and took sequential pictures as it approached before I put the Aztec decals down. So then I had to cut the Aztec decals around the already applied registry. And you can see the impulse thrusters are lit up. No, those are the side saucer rim thrusters, sorry. There's the back. See, you're beginning to put decals in front of the impulse deflector crystal. See how I used a darker blue in the center there. Krylon Chrome apparently shows all the fingerprints, which is why it's so dingy. I don't even know. Oh, the more Aztec decals. See see the red, see the decal in front of it, see the white windows along the hull, and there's a good wide angle shot. So it looked like I did a lot of detail painting and decal placement. So here's the decal. Here I'm beginning to paint it with just the two soft metallic colors so that I could apply it to the ship. You see at the bottom there's the soft metallic, but you see at the top looks like a shiny pearlescent instead. And you see as you move the camera up, you see some of the metallic there. So that's how I got them to show up. Before I applied the decal, I put it against the ship. Painting the decals is a trick I learned from Trekworks. He was trying to do it with a airbrush, I think, masking and everything, and I thought to myself, there must be a better way to do that. You see it applied there. So I painted it by hand. It took about 5 minutes per pie wedge to do that. Now, I didn't do anything on the top saucer yet. The bottom saucer was what I experimented on. But you can see how I did the nacelle struts and the top of the secondary hull. Now, the Polar Lights trim was didn't show up enough, so I had to turn to the A Creation set. But you'll see a few pictures now in lower light of the ship. You see how the deflector dish lights up no matter how low the light is? So that makes it look like it's lit up from within. And you see there's a few of the pearlescent decals there. Tried to trim it out so that you didn't see the stand. So that's kind of the effect you're going for, and you can see the deflector dish reflecting off the registry number. You can see the blue nacelle struts are showing up as well, so that's helpful. There you go, see? Two of the light metallic decals side by side, or possibly three. Yeah, there's the blue. You can see a trace of blue. So it is lighting up, just as it should be, at least because of the paint. You can see the metallic accents on that one as it's angling away. Now, of course, some of the lower engineering hall windows are colored blue. I think I corrected that to white a bit later on. I worked on this. I did the bulk of the work between March and July of 2018, picking it up again in early 2019. Now that is the same Acer laptop, and this is around March 19th or something, and this has had it for 7.5 years, so I'm applying more of the decals there. You can see the underside of the saucer with most of them applied. Sure looks a lot different in daylight than it does at night. This is like from The Cage, one of the first episodes of TOS. That's the same angle. There it is from the side, so you can, it's working quite well. There it is in dim light, holding it up again by the front door. And there it is from the front. Now in this angle, the decals are subtle. You can't see them. And you can barely see them. I did half the saucer only, the right half. In the darkness, you can't really tell at all. It's basically just a silhouette. Same with this angle. But you can at least see the registry number, mostly. And that's, well, the newspaper I used to do the painting so it wouldn't get on my table. And of course, I took the variety of angles. So I think most of the bottom saucer is done by now. But as you see, there's a few gaps left to fill. But it looks pretty subtle from that angle. I tried to alternate the colors of the pearlescent using the pattern of the decals to guide me. That's where I got the idea to do the 1000 scale refit. Now, of course, that angle looks a bit too busy, so you'll see why I went for a softer, more subtle pearlescent or even iridescent in later builds, like model number 45, the 537 Motion Picture Smoothie Refit. And as you see in the background by the deflector dish, yes, I was growing potted plants in my bedroom at the time. I think those are tomato plants. I certainly took a lot of pictures. I mean, when I did this build in 2018, all the way up to July of 2021, I never thought of taking videos as I built the ship. So I'm having to narrate the pictures. That's a good one. It's nice and bright. I started applying the side saucer rim trench decals. You can see how they have the windows integrated, sometimes even the name of the ship. And then, of course, I took a picture of what I had left to apply. You can see it all there. Nacelles, impulse crystal, neck. You see how I painted some of the outer nacelle there. Now, was it also painted on the other side? No, it doesn't look like it's applied yet. But it worked out quite well, actually. And those decals have remained on the ship all this time, but of course, because it's against a chrome hull, it's hard to see them. But it'll show up eventually. There it is in the darkness again. You can see it on the port side, the cell strut especially. There it is in dim light once again. The Aztec pattern is very subtle there. I think that's taken in the dining room. I recognize the beige walls at dim light, or perhaps it's the living room. Focusing in on the aft nacelle, I think. There it is from the back. Oh yeah, that is the living room. I recognize the living room curtains and Vader with a Santa hat on him in the background. Oh yeah, you see it on the underside of the port nacelle there. There you go. And on the inner side, I think that's a registry number there. Those are registry numbers on the nacelles in those pictures. Oh yes, Christmas tree in the background, my tube TV, the internet, the lamp. There's the ship without the stand in the way. That's before I discovered the photo room application, almost 7 years beforehand. That's not the kitchen table. That's the cedar chest. There's the kitchen table. You see the A Creation decals in the background? The blue sheet? That's what I started using for the top. As you can see here. Well, you'll see once I get a closer picture. See how the inner nacelle trench decals are darker, green? Yeah. I had to do that so that they'd actually show up without being painted on the top hull. I didn't want to... I do the experimentation on the bottom hull of the ship, not the top saucer, just in case. But as I keep working at the 537 refit, we'll see if I get it subtle enough that I can actually do it on the top saucer as well, using the Trek Modeler paint guide, of course. So you have sections of plain gold, sections of plain blue, with a little bit of isolated red and green. And then, of course, I started taking the Jupiter pictures using my space book. You know how in the motion picture, the ship approached Jupiter and then slowly pulled away. Of course, I wanted to take pictures of it approaching the Great Red Spot and getting right above it. They say that you can fit 3 Earths in the Great Red Spot, and there it is just above the Great Red Spot clouds. You can't even see the curve of the horizon. And then here you are as the ship starts pulling away from Jupiter itself. So I put it in front of it, almost like a backdrop. I got better at backdrops later. This is just preliminary. So this is the end of part 2 and the end of the narration for model number 5 because there was no copyright claim for the music for parts 3 and 4. Hope you enjoyed it. See you later. Bye-bye.